How to master any game using the forbidden tactics of Machiavelli. Imagine sitting at a table, the game already unfolding before you, every move on the board seemingly predicted by your opponent, every path already mapped out. Yet somehow, you are still the one in control. This is not luck. This is not talent. This is the invisible hand of strategy that few dare to use. It is the forbidden wisdom of Machiavelli, the thinker who stripped away illusions of morality and exposed the raw mechanics of power. For centuries, his words have been feared, banned, twisted, and vilified because they do not tell us how the world should be, but how it really is. And those who dare to look through this darker lens suddenly begin to see the hidden rules behind every interaction, every competition, every so-called game of life. What you are about to discover is not a manual for cruelty, nor a celebration of manipulation. It is a mirror reflecting the truth, that every game is governed not by fairness, but by perception, deception, and decisive action. Machiavelli understood that in a world of wolves, the lamb who insists on playing fair does not survive. He knew that power is not granted, it is taken, and that to master any game you must first be willing to step outside the comforting illusions society feeds you and stare directly into the machinery of control. Ask yourself, how many times have you lost not because you lacked skill, but because you assumed others were playing by the same rules? How many times did you trust the mask of honesty only to realize it was a disguise hiding sharper intentions? How many opportunities slipped away because you hesitated, clinging to ideals of fairness while someone else quietly bent reality to their will? These moments are not accidents. They are lessons you ignored. Machiavelli whispers from across the centuries, do not mistake appearance for truth and do not confuse morality with strategy. If you want to master any game, whether it is business, politics, relationships, or even the simple negotiations of everyday life, you must learn to see beyond the surface, to pierce through the lies, and to control not just your moves, but the perceptions of those around you. That is the forbidden art, the one the powerful do not want you to understand, because once you do, you are no longer easy to manipulate. In this journey, you will step into the shadows where real influence is forged. You will learn that the mask is sometimes more powerful than the face, that weakness can be transformed into strength, that chaos is not to be feared but embraced, and that the endgame always belongs to those who dare to define it. This is not theory. It is a set of timeless principles carved into the psyche of human behavior, revealed through the mind of a man who dared to expose the architecture of power. So prepare yourself. By the end of this exploration, you will not just understand Machiavelli, you will carry his forbidden tactics into your own battles. The question is not whether you will use them, the question is whether you can afford not to, because every day, someone is already using them on you. And while you cling to the illusion of fair play, they are moving the pieces, setting the trap, and securing the victory. The illusion of fair play. From the time you were a child, you were taught that life rewards honesty, that good people win in the end, that the rules are sacred and fairness is the true path to success. But tell me, has that ever really matched your reality? How many times have you seen the liar rise faster than the honest worker? How many times have you witnessed the one who bends the rules become the one who reaps the reward, while the one who follows them gets left behind? This is the brutal truth Machiavelli tried to tell us. Fair play is an illusion carefully designed to keep the majority obedient, while the minority quietly rewrites the rules. Look around. In chess, every move is governed by strict rules, yet the true masters don't win because they follow them. They win because they know how to manipulate the opponent's mind, create traps, and use misdirection. In poker, the rules are fixed, but victory rarely comes from the cards in your hand. It comes from bluffing, reading your rivals, convincing them of a reality that doesn't exist. Life works the same way. The rules are written on the surface, but the real game takes place underneath, in the shadows of perception. Society loves to preach about fairness because it is the easiest way to control the masses. If everyone believes the world is just, then no one questions why power keeps concentrating in the hands of a few. If you believe the myth that hard work alone guarantees success, You will keep grinding while others quietly manipulate the environment, bypassing the very rules you cling to. The myth of fair play keeps you tame, while those who dare to question it rise above you. Machiavelli understood that the human mind craves order, but power belongs to those who recognize that order is fragile and can be bent. Think about the games of politics. Do you believe leaders rise because they are the most moral? Or do they rise because they know how to project morality while practicing strategy behind closed doors? Machiavelli revealed the uncomfortable truth. Leaders who appear good while secretly maneuvering with ruthless calculation hold power longer than those who genuinely try to be virtuous. Why? Because appearances control the crowd, and perception is the true battlefield. The illusion of fair play is not just a lie, it is a weapon used by those who understand its purpose. Even in personal relationships, you see this principle at work. How often do people present a version of themselves that seems selfless, caring, even fragile, only to use that mask to gain influence over others? Fairness is not the guiding principle here. The real force shaping outcomes is the ability to bend perception, to present one face while hiding another, to create narratives that others believe in. And while you cling to fairness, you fall for the narrative. The truth is hard to swallow. If you play the game exactly as they tell you to, you are not really playing. You are being played. And this is where Machiavelli becomes dangerous. He strips away the comforting illusions and dares you to see the ugly reality beneath them. He tells you to stop expecting the world to reward your virtue and start learning how to read the hidden currents of power that shape every move around you. The forbidden tactic here is not about breaking rules. It is about recognizing that the rules themselves are only half the story. The real victory lies in perception, in influence, in the ability to make others believe you are playing fair while you quietly shift the board to your advantage. To master any game, you must first kill the illusion that everyone else is bound by the same constraints. Once you see through that illusion, you are no longer the pawn, you are the strategist. The mask and the puppet strings. Every human interaction is a stage, and on that stage the most powerful tool is not brute force but the mask you choose to wear. Machiavelli knew that people crave certainty, stability, and reassurance, and because of this they are easily deceived by appearances. He advised leaders to present themselves as merciful, faithful, humane, and honest. Not because he believed in those virtues, but because he understood that the crowd would submit more easily to someone who looked like what they wanted to see. Behind that carefully crafted image, however, the real moves were made. The ruthless calculations, the hidden strategies, the puppet strings that pulled events in directions no one expected. Ask yourself this: how many times have you been fooled by someone's smile, by their supposed humility, by their carefully polished words? How many times have you discovered that the image they showed you was a mask hiding a very different intention? This is the uncomfortable truth. Masks are not lies. They are weapons. They are not mere disguises. They are tools of power. The person who learns to control their mask gains the ability to control how others perceive reality itself. And once you control perception, you control the game. In the modern world, the principle is everywhere. Influencers on social media craft images of perfection, flawless lives, endless success, unshakable confidence. Do you really believe all of it is real? Or do you recognize that behind the lens there are insecurities, flaws, and struggles hidden from view? Yet despite knowing this, people still fall under the spell of the mask, comparing themselves to illusions and submitting to an authority that isn't even authentic. This is not an accident. It is Machiavellian strategy applied to the digital age, power through controlled appearances. Think of the CEO who projects humility in interviews while orchestrating ruthless strategies behind closed doors. Think of the politician who speaks of unity while secretly deepening divisions to strengthen their grip on power. Think of the gamer who pretends to be weak at the beginning of the match, luring their opponent into arrogance, only to strike when it matters most. In all these cases, the mask is the weapon. The mask is the way to shift the opponent's guard, to lure them into complacency, to make them underestimate you or trust you long enough for you to pull the strings unnoticed. Machiavelli's brilliance was not in telling us to deceive for the sake of deceit, but in teaching us to understand that people are enslaved by appearances. Most will never look beyond the mask, because to do so would force them to confront a world far more uncomfortable than the one they prefer to believe in. And so the strategist who dares to manipulate appearances gains near total control over their environment. To master the game is to master the narrative others believe in. Here is the paradox. Authenticity is celebrated as strength, but in the theater of power, raw authenticity is weakness. If you show everything you are, every intention, every desire, every vulnerability, you give others the tools to control you. The mask, instead, allows you to decide what they see and what remains hidden. It allows you to shape not only how others perceive you, but how they respond to you. This is not dishonesty, it is strategic self-preservation. So the forbidden tactic becomes clear. Become the master of your own mask. Learn to project strength when you feel weak, humility when you seek dominance, calm when you are in turmoil. Present the face the world expects, while you quietly pull the strings behind it. Because in the end, it is not the strongest who win, nor the most moral, but the ones who master the art of appearing to be what others want to see. The mask blinds them, the strings control them, and the game becomes yours to command. Turning weakness into a weapon. What if the very things you consider flaws were not obstacles but hidden tools waiting to be sharpened? Machiavelli understood a truth that most people fear to accept. Strength does not always conquer, and weakness is not always defeat. In fact, weakness can be the most devastating weapon when it is used deliberately, strategically, and without shame. While others waste their energy trying to appear invincible, the one who knows how to disguise power behind the mask of fragility becomes untouchable, because no one attacks what they underestimate. Think of the times you have been dismissed, ignored, or looked down upon. Did those moments feel like humiliation, or were they opportunities you failed to recognize? When others see you as weak, they expose themselves, they reveal their arrogance, they stop defending their position because they believe you are harmless. This is the opening the strategist waits for. The underestimated player is free to move in silence, to calculate without pressure, to strike when no one expects it. Weakness becomes camouflage, invisibility on the battlefield of life. History is filled with examples. Small nations that pretended to bend before powerful empires, only to survive long enough to outlast them. Leaders who acted submissive before rivals until the perfect moment to betray them. Even in the modern world, think of negotiations where one side pretends to be desperate, lacking options, only to trap the other in overconfidence. The illusion of weakness disarms the opponent, while behind it, the real plan unfolds. This is not cowardice, it is the art of strategic patience. Machiavelli revealed that pretending to be powerless can be more dangerous than showing your true force. People expect resistance, they prepare for confrontation, but they rarely prepare for surrender. And when you surrender by choice, when you play the fool, when you lower expectations deliberately, you seize the freedom to act in ways no one is watching for. The enemy looks away, convinced you are irrelevant, while you quietly move closer to victory. Even in personal life, this principle operates. Think of the person who allows others to believe they are naive, soft, or fragile. They draw out confessions, secrets, vulnerabilities from those who see them as harmless. Then, when the time comes, they hold the power of knowledge while the other remains blind. Or think of the professional who pretends to lack ambition, who hides their hunger for advancement, waiting until the right moment to rise without competition. The mask of weakness is often stronger than the display of strength. This is where most people fail. They believe they must always project confidence, always show dominance, always prove themselves. In doing so, they reveal too much. They provoke rivals. They create unnecessary battles. The one who embraces apparent weakness escapes this trap. They create space to grow unnoticed, to observe, to plan. And when the time comes, they reveal their true strength with devastating precision. So ask yourself, Are your weaknesses truly weaknesses, or are they the raw material of a greater strategy? Are you showing too much of your power, making yourself a target, when you could be hiding it until the board is set? Machiavelli's forbidden wisdom reminds us that every flaw can be repurposed, every limitation can be reframed, every weakness can be turned into a weapon. The question is not whether you have weaknesses. The question is whether you have the courage to use them. The controlled chaos principle. Most people fear chaos. They cling to stability, rules, and predictability as if these things can protect them from collapse. But Machiavelli saw something different. He understood that chaos is not the end of order, it is the birthplace of power. Those who panic when structures crumble are consumed by the storm. Those who learn to ride it, however, bend chaos to their will and emerge as masters. The truth is simple. Chaos is not your enemy, it is your arena. Think about the moments in life when everything seemed unstable. A crisis at work, a sudden breakup, a financial downfall, a political scandal. What did most people do? They froze. They hesitated. They prayed for normality to return. And while they wasted time longing for stability, the few who embraced the disruption saw opportunities no one else dared to touch. The company in crisis became the ladder for new leadership. The relationship collapse became the chance to redefine identity. The falling market became the perfect moment to invest. This is controlled chaos. Not creating disorder for the sake of it, but recognizing that instability opens doors closed in times of peace. Machiavelli lived in a world of constant turmoil, betrayals, shifting alliances, collapsing kingdoms. He learned that to survive, one must not resist chaos, but adapt to it faster than anyone else. This same principle applies today. Look at the digital world, where algorithms shift without warning, trends rise and die overnight, markets fluctuate violently. To those clinging to stability, this feels terrifying. But to those who understand controlled chaos, it is a gift. The moment others lose their footing is the moment you make your move. Notice how even in games, chaos is often the key to victory. In competitive arenas, the player who introduces unpredictability forces the opponent to react rather than act. Once your rival is reacting, they are already losing. Machiavelli would say the same about politics, about war, about business. Stability makes people lazy. Predictability makes them blind. Chaos awakens them, but it also exhausts them, and if you remain calm within the storm, the balance of power shifts entirely in your favor. But let's be clear. There is a difference between chaos and recklessness. Recklessness destroys the player along with the game. Controlled chaos, however, is a dance. It is entering disorder with clarity, knowing how far to push, when to retreat, when to let confusion work for you, and when to strike. It is about appearing calm while everyone else burns with panic. It is about holding the thread of strategy in the middle of the storm so that, when the dust settles, you are the only one still standing. Reflect on this. Why do so many collapse under pressure while a few seem to thrive in it? Why does the same storm that drowns one person lift another to new heights? The answer lies in mindset. To fear chaos is to be its victim. To embrace it is to control it. Machiavelli's forbidden tactic was to never waste a moment of disorder. In chaos, he saw the cracks in the system where power could flow. So the next time life erupts into confusion, remember, this is not punishment, it is opportunity. Do not run from it, step into it. While others scatter, you observe. While others fight blindly, you position yourself. While others fall silent in fear, you speak with clarity. That is how chaos stops being a threat and becomes your ally. And once you master this principle, no storm can break you. The forbidden endgame. Every game has an end, and those who master it know that the end is all that truly matters. Machiavelli's most infamous lesson was simple yet devastating. The outcome justifies the path. A phrase so feared that it has echoed for centuries as if it were the anthem of tyranny. But if you strip away the fear, if you stare into its raw meaning, you discover a truth that most people deny. Results shape reality, not intentions. And in a world built on perception, the victor writes the story, while the loser is forgotten. Think carefully. When history remembers the great leaders, the empires, the innovators, do we celebrate them for the kindness of their actions or for the power of their results? How many victories were born of compromises, half-truths, ruthless decisions that no one dares to discuss openly? Yet in the end, what remains visible is the triumph, not the hidden sacrifices. Machiavelli stripped away the illusion of moral purity to remind us, in the final account, it is the outcome that defines you. Everything else is erased by time. This principle terrifies those who wish the world were simpler. They want clean victories, noble heroes, and flawless stories. But life has never obeyed those rules. In politics, in business, in war, even in personal ambition, the endgame belongs to the one who dares to prioritize results over appearances. It does not mean cruelty for the sake of cruelty. It means clarity of vision, the courage to see the bigger picture while others drown in sentiment. Think of the chess master. Each piece sacrificed is not an act of weakness but a step toward victory. If you judged only the sacrifice, you would see loss. But judged by the end, the sacrifice was necessary. This is the lens Machiavelli forces upon us, to stop obsessing over every step and instead ask, does this move serve the final purpose? If it does, then the pain of the present becomes the foundation of the triumph that follows. The forbidden endgame is about discipline, about refusing to be distracted by temporary discomfort, by guilt, by the opinions of the crowd. The crowd will criticize your methods until the moment you win. Then they will praise you, follow you, even worship you, forgetting the path you took to get there. Because once victory is undeniable, the narrative rewrites itself in your favor. And those who clung to moral superiority but lost are erased from memory, their purity, a monument to futility. Ask yourself, how many times have you stopped short of success because you feared what others would think? How many times did you hesitate at the edge of opportunity because the path was uncomfortable, imperfect, or controversial? Each hesitation was a surrender. Each surrender was a victory handed to someone else. The forbidden endgame demands that you stop surrendering. It demands that you decide what matters most, pleasing others with appearances or seizing the outcome that changes everything. Machiavelli's wisdom is ruthless because it forces you to confront the raw mechanics of life. Intentions are invisible, outcomes are undeniable. You will not be remembered for what you wanted to do. You will be remembered for what you achieved. And the game is mastered only when you learn to align every decision, every mask, every moment of controlled chaos, with the clarity of that final vision. So here lies the ultimate challenge. Will you dare to define your endgame and pursue it without apology? Or will you cling to illusions of virtue, watching others rewrite history while your story fades into silence? The forbidden truth is that the world rewards those who win, not those who play beautifully. The outcome is the only monument that stands. And in the end, the game does not remember how you played. It remembers if you won. Now you stand holding a gift that few dare to unwrap. Machiavelli's forbidden tactics are not comfortable, they are not safe, and they will not make you beloved. They are dangerous precisely because they strip away illusions and force you to face the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. To see the mechanics of power clearly is to step outside the comforting myths that keep most people docile. It is to walk into a reality where masks, deception, controlled chaos, and ruthless clarity of vision are not exceptions, but the rules that truly govern human behavior. But what will you do with this knowledge? That is the real test. Because now you cannot pretend ignorance. You cannot look at the games of life, at politics, relationships, business, competition, the same way again. You have seen how the illusion of fair play blinds the majority. You have seen how masks control perception, how weakness becomes camouflage, how chaos opens the hidden doors, and how the endgame reshapes the story entirely. These are not just theories. They are principles woven into the fabric of human behavior, used against you every single day. Machiavelli does not hand you morality. He hands you a weapon, and with every weapon comes a choice. You can use it to protect yourself, to see through deception, to stop being the pawn in someone else's strategy. or you can use it to dominate, to manipulate, to bend others toward your will. That is why his wisdom is feared, because it refuses to define good or evil. It simply reveals the architecture of power and leaves the decision in your hands. The dangerous gift is awareness. Once you see through the illusions, you cannot return to blindness. You cannot play the game the same way because you now know that the rules you once trusted were only part of the surface. Beneath them lies the true contest, where perception is more powerful than truth, where calm inside chaos builds victory, where weakness is the perfect disguise and where the end justifies every sacrifice. This is the terrain where real mastery lives. So I leave you with the question that only you can answer. Now that you hold this forbidden knowledge, will you dare to use it? Will you step into the game with your eyes open, shaping perception, controlling chaos, moving unseen until victory is yours? Or will you remain where most stay, clinging to illusions, insisting on fairness, waiting for a world that has never existed? The choice will define not only how you play, but whether you win. If this exploration has opened your eyes, if you feel the pull of these hidden truths, then do not let this be the end. Subscribe, and step deeper into the shadows where power is unmasked, because the game never ends, and the ones who master it are the ones who never stop learning how to play.